I'm so desperate for his approval on that one. On the running.
It'd be like Strictly Ballroom at the end, you know, like holding up the cards.
Totally.
I really recommend doing movies in masks. I've had a really good time with this.
I'm gonna come back here and burn this building down. I promise. That's the spirit.
This is America, goddammit! And we don't put up with no bullshit!
This is a very different film in many ways from the previous adaptation of the novel. How do you kind of view that earlier film, and why did you want to go in a kind of different direction, more true to the book?
It was because I'd read the book when I was a teenager. I probably read the Richard Bachman novel, aka Stephen King, when I was 14, and I had read it before I saw the 1987 film. So when and because even as a kid, before as a film director, you visualize the book that you've read. When I saw so I'd even made the little movie in my head as a teenager, and when I saw the Arnold Schwarzenegger version, I realized, oh, this is wildly different. It's a very loose adaptation of the Stephen King book. So I always had this feeling that there was another great movie in that source material, a completely different movie. So always the idea was to do something more faithful to the book.
Yeah, and then it's also, I guess, this version of Ben Richards is different from Arnold Schwarzenegger's version as well. Does that make it easier for you that you're not necessarily, I guess, going to be compared directly against that performance? It's a slightly different character.
It's only because I tried out my Austrian accent and it was just not good enough. I think Edgar and I talked early on sort of about, Stephen King's, it's where you look at what that character is, and I think the rage is such a defining element of Ben. It's what makes him not only a guy who feels obviously slighted and sort of pressed down by this oppressive system, but also makes him a great reality show contestant. Makes him, you always cast for that person, a little bit of chaos, a guy that's got a little bit of that, but it also makes him an unpredictable element for the show. But that was always kind of an attribute and a driving force. But I think one of the things we always also talked about is just really grounding it. The family is such a heartbeat of this movie. We joke around, it's like the most high octane pharmacy run of all time. He goes on a run to get his daughter some medicine to save her life, and ends up signing up for this unwinnable game show. So there's just a different heartbeat, I would say, because in the Schwarzenegger version, he doesn't have a family to save.
And you do leave a little nod to Arnie in there as well on the money. Was that something did you have different ideas for how to incorporate him into the film, or did you decide on that early on?
No, that was early on, I think. It was just because in the script we had the idea of new currency. We thought it would be interesting to sort of have an alternate timeline. We actually made all the other notes as well. Those ones you don't see on screen as much, but it's a good collector's item. It's all the other. We used all the presidents that hadn't been on banknotes
so
yet.
Sick. Yeah, it's honestly, he gave that to me as a gift. It's like the dopest gift. Yeah, it's going to be in my office.
Yeah, I know that you went to your old co-star Tom Cruise for some running advice. Have you had his feedback yet on how your movie run lives up to his own?
You know what? Tom loved the movie. I haven't talked to him about my running form. I'll get back to you on that one.
Yeah.
I'm so desperate for his approval on that one. On the running.
It'd be like Strictly Ballroom at the end, like holding up the cards.
Totally. Yeah.
Obviously, what's interesting about the film is that it's, going back to the book that was looking at 2025, the year, and it feels quite prescient that we're maybe not quite living in that world yet, but you can see signs of it. Was that quite interesting for you as well, the fact that 2025 was a year from then?
Yeah, I mean what's amazing about the book, which was published in 1992 but written in 1972, is how prescient it is. And you have to think about what Stephen King at the time was. An unpublished writer, was sort of struggling to provide for his family when he wrote the book. He said to me that when he wrote the book, he said the kids were eating better than him and Tabitha, like his wife. So they were struggling to sort of provide for themselves and the family. But I just think about how sort of amazing it is that he predicted so much of what would come to pass with corporations being more powerful than the government, you wouldn't even know back then what deepfakes and AI are, but in the book there's a scene where a tape that Ben makes is manipulated and the network make him say something different on TV which he didn't say. you know. And also when in writing the script of Michael Bacall, you have like 25 years of a certain type of reality TV that's so kind of omnipresent that we could sort of bring everything that we've learned from that into the script as well.
It strikes me that both of your characters are, in different ways, very fun ones to play. So Coleman, first of all, playing Bobby T, he's obviously, you know, a showman. He's a ham. He's larger than life.
Yeah, exactly.
How did you kind of go about, playing the role? Were you kind of channeling any TV presenters?
Not channeling anyone per se, but I feel like I took a lot of inspiration from researching a bunch of them. And then I sort of did, literally, like it was 2 days before before pictures were up, I shot my stuff, and the documentary for the Jerry Springer doc came out, and I thought, oh, this is very interesting when it comes to the foundation of someone who was sort of inciting, you know, people to go to their ugliest selves, and also someone who felt like a journalist. He's just doing his job and serving his function, and he slept well at night. That's the way I viewed it. So I thought, oh, that's interesting to me. But I also wanted to give. There's actually a beautiful stage direction in the beginning of my character, that he's the most famous game show host in the world. And I thought, well, what does that look like? And if his face is plastered everywhere and he's presentational and he's aspirational in every single way, what does that look like? And what does that look like in his body and physically? That he owns the stage, that he owns his space. And I think that, you know, he can get anyone to do anything.
I mean, I got to watch Coleman do these scenes. He had that audience in the palm of his hand. I mean, they were shouting Bobby T when Coleman was setting up to do his thing. It was really something.
Does that make you feel quite powerful to have people?
It made Bobby T feel powerful. You know, for Coleman, I was as Bobby T. Really, he felt like it was really cool because it was like it took me back to my stage days. You know, I haven't been on stage in like 13 years, but I felt like, oh, I need to know how to be the energy on the stage and make sure that everyone here I can articulate a story to everyone, and that felt good.
But it was like, you know, it's like that could go the other way. But that was, with like when your scene partner is like, 200 extras, it's like it could go either way. But Coleman, like, it was like there was a scene happening between you and them. It was.
They were no
awesome.
longer background. They really were Bobby T's audience.
And from one character whose face is plastered everywhere to one character who we hardly see their face at all for most of the runtime.
I really recommend doing movies in masks. I've had a really good time on this.
How does that change how you approach acting? Because obviously everything has to be so physical, and you can't react with your face. How does that change how you approach a role?
Well, yeah, you do think about your physicality in a new way, but so much of it is I look in the mirror and I see the character. We develop the costume and we try to be very, intentional about what we're trying to make the character look like, because he's very intentional about how he wants to appear on the show. And then you look in the mirror and you try to relax and do it. That's really all I have to do. Shoot the gun, deliver the line. It's fun.
Yeah. Edgar Wright strikes me as a director who must have a very kind of infectious energy on set. What was it like to work with him? Did you have particular conversations, particularly directions from him that kind of really stood out to you while making the film?
He's like one great brain trust. He has so much information and visual language, right? Everything is at his arsenal, and he's really open to sharing it with you as much as you want to know. And you're like, I don't know if I need to know all that, because his brain is holding the whole film. And I feel like I need to know my function in many ways. But so he was really gregarious and open and ready and available, right?
He's like an encyclopedia of cinema. So, and like, you don't really feel like you're being directed with him. He'll come on set and he'll kind of tell you what he likes about certain films and
the true cinephile.
Yeah, and you'll just like laugh and have a good time with him, but you'll understand what his taste is in a way that helps you guide your character in a way that will entertain him, because he's trying to make the film that he wants to see. The first conversation I had with him when he pitched the movie he wanted to make, to the first script that I read, to the movie I saw last week, is exactly the same movie. Like, he did that. There's nothing that just happened. He planned everything. And I don't know, like, I watched this movie and it doesn't stumble for a second. No. Every performance is like on tone. Every action sequence builds till the end. So it all kind of leads back to Edgar.